Welcome to today's episode of Decentralized TV here on Brighteon.com. I'm Mike Adams, of course, the founder of Brighteon and the founder of our new AI engine, which is now live. It's called Enoch, and it is available right here at Brighteon.ai. It's free of charge, and we just upgraded it to where you can now ask 250 prompts per day free of charge. And this is the world's best AI engine on reality-based testing. It even knows how many genders there are. The answer is 2. It's an integer. It's a small integer answer. But joining me today, and then we're going to introduce our guest here shortly, who's an extraordinary individual. But my co-host, who's also extraordinary, and he keeps sending me videos of all, like this Noah's Ark of animals in his backyard. It's Todd Pittner. Welcome, Todd. How many animals have you seen today? What's going on?
Oh, I have a whole herd of deer. What I sent you yesterday is I have my raccoons that, they just party out there. And then yesterday, it's the first time I've ever seen this. There's always been like a herd of deer, but it's usually all the mamas and their babies, But yesterday I saw 3 big, you saw them, big bucks just going out and hanging with the raccoons, eating for like an hour. And it just blew me away. I thought they were territorial, but they were all just as like they said they're going to meet at Pittner Park for a beer.
Well, they were probably brothers. I've seen groups of bucks, of course, in the same family. Yeah, they'll go together like that.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
But no, it's just amazing. That's my happy place back there, as you know.
Well, that's awesome. So, we trade animal stories, and early this morning, I found what looked like a dead possum that looked like my dogs had gotten a hold of, and it was on the driveway. And like possums do, it was laying there completely like tongue hanging out, like I'm totally dead, And so I know this trick of possums. So I scooped it into a giant snow shovel, and I took it outside the fenced area, put it outside in the grass. It acted dead the whole time, and then watched it for a few minutes, and then it just got up and walked away.
That's hilarious. That's so hilarious.
It's like the possums are very good at playing possum.
That's nuts.
I'm like, this thing reanimates like the deep state. It's amazing.
Right. That's great.
It's like a zombie deep state possum. Anyway, love your animal stories, love the success of your food for us, and I got to challenge you. I now have the world's largest, it seems, figs. I've got these massive figs this year. They almost fill your palm. They're huge. I mean, well, not like an orange huge, but they're the size of like a lime.
That's amazing, Mike.
Yeah, they're super delicious and just extraordinary.
I mean, I recently had a little bit of, surgery, and they tell me that I'm supposed to be eating figs.
Is that right?
But figs that I got are small. You have to eat a bunch of them. It sounds to me like if I ate a bunch of your figs, I'd be in trouble for about a half a year.
Yeah, we have the most figalicious figs possible at the moment.
Are they really? Are they good?
They're really good. Yeah.
Oh man.
I got to get them before the chickens get them. The chickens jump up into the fig tree and start pecking at the figs. They've learned that trick. They're like, it's red, it's edible,
That's amazing.
So it's a constant
the world's most expensive kept chickens on your ranch.
That's true. Organic feed and fresh figs. Okay, now today we have a very special guest who I interviewed once before.
Yes.
But this is only the second time that I've been able to interview him. And he's a prolific content creator who has a wealth of knowledge about cosmos and consciousness and non-human possible disclosure civilizations, all kinds of things that are really relevant to what's happening because things are changing today. So let me introduce our guest today. It's Alex Collier, and his website is alexcollier.org, and that's spelled Collier. So welcome back, Alex. It's great to have you on today.
Thank you, Mike. It's an honor and a privilege.
Well, it's an honor to have you here, and I just want to congratulate you for the way that you have been the most prolific user of our Brighteon.com platform with our premium video features. It's like offering content for sale, and you have a very large viewer base and customer base. So I just want to thank you for using our platform to help spread the message of what you're all about. Now, so with that said, can you just give our audience here, since this is the first time you're on this show, Decentralized TV, can you give our audience a brief introduction of who you are and what you're all about?
Oh, well,
I know, the hardest question of all.
that's my least favorite thing to talk about. I am just a regular person that finds himself in an extraordinary position with an extraordinary circumstance. I've done all kinds of work, from treasury to internal revenue work to aerospace. I've done all kinds of things, but I had a very unique experience when I was a kid in Michigan. We were, at the time, my family lived in Elk Grove Village, Illinois, and my grandparents had a cabin near Crooked Lake in northern Michigan on the peninsula. And all the families would get together. It wouldn't happen every year, but at least every second or third year, all the families would get together, the cousins and the aunts and the uncles at the cabin. And, we would just have this great party. And this happened in August of 1964. And a bunch of us were moved away from the lake, and there were some very large fields. So we went out into the fields to play hide and go seek. And, there were chestnut trees and pine trees. It's still a gorgeous place. And I remember laying down in the grass, and I don't know exactly what happened, but I fell asleep. And the next thing I know is I'm laying on a table, and there are two human type men standing next to me. One was just over 7 feet tall, 7.5 feet tall. He identified himself as Mornay, and the other was a very short, a man who looked more Asian than Andromedan, and he referred to himself as Visayas. Now, they're fifth dimensional extraterrestrials from the constellation known as Zenithé. We would know it as Zenithé. And they speak holographically. So when I share information of things that they have said, it has to be dumbed down in order for us to share it as a language, share it as an idea. Now, the thing about telepathic communication is that when you're having a telepathic communication and you're talking about a particular subject, you will hear their voice in the front of your head. You'll hear them speaking to you. But in the back of your head, they are giving you an entire download holographically of everything they know about a particular subject.
Whoa.
And I mean everything. Which is why
I'm sorry. So, but the bandwidth of spoken English language is so limited. Even as we are talking right now, it's only so many words a minute, right? That's nothing compared to what you're talking about. You're talking about like a fiber optic direct knowledge download of the full context at the same time.
Probably multiplied by 10.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which is why I like the Q&As, Mike, because there's things in my head I don't even know that they're there. I don't even know. So that's why when they ask a question, that information, it's like a Rolodex. It just rolls up and it's right there. Really extraordinary. And
Very
other
cool.
countries also have the same type of situation, especially those that are telepathic, because what it is, it's holographic communication. So I've had these experiences. It started in August of 1964. It was very prevalent in my 30s and 40s, 20s, 30s, and 40s, mostly the 30s and 40s. It was very heavy. Now it's kind of more not physical, but just strictly telepathic. And part of that's been my problem. I caused this problem for myself because when I'm with them physically, I don't want to come back. And I'll just say it. I don't want to come back.
Interesting.
I've never felt more safe than in their space. And there's something incredibly familiar about being in that space.
You know, it's interesting you say that, because I hear that from a lot of near-death experiencers, you know, NDEs. They say that when they leave this realm and their spirit is in the next realm, sometimes they describe it as heaven, sometimes something else, they say it feels like home. And they also say, I don't want to ask you this, Alex, and I know, Todd, I apologize. I know you've got great questions coming up, but Alex, because near-death experiencers talk about a massive expansion of sensory resolution and clarity, like they've never seen physically in this realm the way that they can see in the other realm. Is that something that you experienced?
Yes. I liken it to this, and I've tried to spend a lot of years thinking about how would I describe this. It's what it is that you no longer feel the limitations of the body. That's number one. Number two, what really goes away and is the first thing that you're aware of is the ego. The ego is just gone. And suddenly you have access to all of yourself without any judgment, without any blocks, without anything. And it's just like almost in that instant, Mike and Todd, you everything comes into perspective.
Wow.
You know, when the judgment's all gone, everything just lines up in perspective. And you're like, aha, I understand why that happened, this happened, who this person was, what I benefited from that. And I mean, it's just like that.
Wow.
It's very difficult to describe, but that is the best way that I can explain it, at least from my perspective. And yeah, you're in another dimension. You leave your physical body here, you are in another dimension. Like Mike, you said, plane. It's a plane or a dimension. It's, you know, life continues.
So
it's
when you
amazing.
come back to this realm, then you must be thinking, well, like, is there a purpose? Like, why did they choose to share all this with you and then send you back here? Have you figured out what that reason is?
Yeah, and they explained it this way. And Todd, I'm just going to make an assumption that you're going to ask some of these questions.
Yep.
Soon here. They've explained it this way, that many have come back in time to right a terrible wrong. So something happened on a specific timeline of Earth that had an absolute negative consequence for our galaxy. Now, when you take into consideration who we are as souls, and the fact that as souls, we came from another realm to come and be birthed into the physical here through our mothers.
Right.
Everybody had a mother. Okay. So when we come in, we now find ourselves in another realm. Something happened, and it hasn't been explained to me, but something has happened that went terribly wrong, and it affected the galaxy. So a very large group of them have come back in time to this place to assist humanity in evolving consciously to another realm.
To try to prevent that thing from happening in this timeline.
Preventing that same scenario from happening a second time. Now, that other realm may be fourth. Some people think it's fifth, that we're going to jump. But what's interesting is that the planet herself we're supposed to ride with her into this next realm.
Oh, that's interesting.
If that makes any sense. So the planet herself wants to ascend. I guess that's the best way to say it. She's like done with the bullshit here.
Aren't we all? Okay, so Todd, I know you're just dying to jump in here. Well, so you know what? I'm already going to go I'm abandoning my questions because I have a couple of questions from what you've said so far. But okay, so we are born into this realm based upon your knowledge and their coaching, education. Is it a privilege for all of us to be born into this realm, or is it a challenge, or is it a test? What is it? Because I kind of dig this life. I kind of want to hang around for a while. But it sounds to me like if you have the opportunity to be abducted by them, if that's probably not the right word, but be in their presence with that kind of amazing download and feeling of safety and security and knowledge, to where you don't really necessarily want to come back. What do you say? I mean, are we here for a reason? I don't know. Is that a question? I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It's a different question, and it's a different answer for everybody.
Okay.
All right. To some, it's a privilege. To some, they came back to help humanity, to serve, to be of service to humanity through this process. To others, it's a test. To others, they wanted to come in, fall back into time in order to go through the experience of living third density and creating with their own consciousness, with their own belief system. Consciousness, all of life, DNA, it's all created by a wave of intention, which is why the single most important question for humanity is, what do you want? And you could ask that question to so many people on this planet, and their first response is, I don't know.
Right.
Well, it seems to me that there's a group of, I call them Druid Babylonian bastards out there, the bad guys, who really know what they want. It seems like there is a contingent that wants to destroy humanity. Is that true, or am I just overthinking it?
No. Now, this goes into the face of a lot of Catholicism, but it is what it is. So, and many people are going to have to deal with specific truths that are going to come to light, because the truth is always what's left standing in the end, always. The Earth has been more or less an experiment. It has housed many different lifestyles, many different life forms, many different civilizations. We're said to be the 8th civilization that has been on our planet. And because of commingling, and if you're familiar at all with the story of the Anunnaki, or the Elohim, they found the daughters of men fair and laid with them. And so now what we have is hybrid human races here that are a mix of extraterrestrial genes.
Yep.
Well, inside those genes are genetic memories. Now, in the Andromedan perspective, they consider us genetic royalty because we're so unique. Other places in the galaxy, you don't find this melting pot of all these different civilizations that have interbred with each other. And what it's done is it's created a civilization whose power is so incredible that they have absolutely no idea what they're capable of. And if you can control their consciousness, the way they think, you can literally lead them into making their own prison. You can also create a world that only they would want and remain in power in, as long as you understood how to manipulate humanity, because it all begins with thought. It all begins with consciousness. It doesn't, and it's also what's also a huge consideration is the heart, which is why they have gone to such great lengths to wound us through war, starvation, pestilence, what we call natural weather catastrophes, which we're going to find out soon. Many of them were not natural at all. They were contrived and done on purpose. And also through trauma, the hollowing out of the soul to weaken it to its lowest point.
Okay, who is the they that you refer to, though, that's doing this mass hypnosis? And
Todd, I'm sorry. Can I, before you get to that question, I have a follow-up on what Alex just said. Do you mind if I jump in for a second?
Oh, please.
Okay, so what I've become aware of in the last few years that you just described, Alex, and I want to make this really practical for the viewers, is that, for example, the reason that the controllers, which is Todd's question, the reason the controllers have to control the narratives is because people's minds make the narratives real. And so the COVID pandemic, it wasn't an independent, objective event that we observed. It was a psyop implanted into the consciousness of humankind that then humans began to make real. Their minds created the actual symptoms in many cases. Now, yes, they could have dropped some like chemical poisons on certain cities to kind of get it started, create the panic. But then people's minds made it real, right? Like a negative hypnosis, sorcery. And then people began to self-create their own symptoms. They created the pandemic because they believed in the false authority that was pushing the narrative. And then that fed back into the authoritarianism of the system that enslaved the people. But in this whole process, the people never realized that they made the pandemic real themselves. Right? Like, they were in charge the whole time, but they didn't realize it. They were being led around on a leash psychically. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's a perfect explanation.
Okay.
I'm
sorry, go ahead.
You can only govern by the consent of the people. Well, when you condition the people to give away their power, then they will do whatever you tell them. If you can traumatize them with fear, then the first thing they do is they want more protection, and they give more and more of their power away.
Right.
Now, the group that I'm referring to some are extraterrestrial, some would say dimensional, but they all basically come from a very specific place in our galaxy, and that's Orion. They have had their way in a significant portion of the galaxy for a very, very long time. If you watch the Star Wars trilogy, they would be the Empire. All right? They would be the Empire.
Well,
and
wasn't Orion from the Men in Black movie? Didn't they say it was the Orion star system?
Well, the Orion the Orion system is very, very large.
Yeah.
It's Little Dipper, Alpha Draconis, Betelgeuse.
But they were talking about the belt of Orion, I think, right? So that's just what, 3 or 4 stars there?
Well, that we see.
Okay.
There are other stars behind it, and many of the stars have solar systems around them. It actually, there is more life here than anybody on the planet currently has any idea. There's life everywhere. We've never actually been alone. In fact, we've had boots on the ground for thousands of years, monitoring humanity, recording the things that happen. And you have to understand, because their DNA structure is 4, 5, 6, 8 strands, they live thousands of years in a single incarnation.
Wow.
Like us, where our telomeres have been snipped, and we're rolling with 2 strands of DNA, and our environment's being poisoned, and we're being fed ELF waves and everything else to suppress us. Now, the biggest question is, why are they trying to suppress us? Why were they capturing us? Because we are genetic royalty. We have the ability to change reality. Now, are you familiar, Todd, with Looking Glass?
No.
Project Looking Glass.
Yeah, Project Looking. It was a piece of technology that was recovered apparently from a ship, and it's also been referred to as a yellow cube. It was kept at Area 51 for a while, and then somehow it was taken overseas, and it has the ability to go into the future. And what they kept seeing in the future was that somewhere around 2030 to 2034, humanity's consciousness completely wakes up.
Whoa.
And we know who we are. We
That is
know who we are as beings, as souls, everything. And if you follow the Q notes at all, you will see them say nothing can stop what's coming. They say this over and over and over again. And that's this event. Now, apparently, the deep state, the cabal, the consortium of regressives, for lack of a better word, I'm referring to the ET dimensional beings, they would throw every scenario into this looking glass. And at the end, the same result came back up over and over and over again at the exact same timeline. All right. So between 2030, 2034, humanity's consciousness wakes up. Game over.
Every timeline converges to this pivot point?
To this point.
Wow.
And at that point, humanity's consciousness completely wakes up. There are a lot of people here now who are awake, but they're hiding because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
You know, people don't want to hear what you have to say. So everything has to be dumbed down. So everybody feels comfortable, but they're laying the breadcrumbs all along the way, hoping people will follow the breadcrumbs.
Wow.
And so in every scenario, this is what happens. The white hats now have control of it. And I don't know how that happened, but thank God for the white hats. And they're kicking ass. They're doing a lot of things behind the scenes that we just don't see. And this game, this checkmate is just about there. It may already be, but there's still moving pieces on the board.
What do your guys say? Your two guys to the notion that we are an amazing creation, obviously, and all of the pieces of the puzzle. Do they state that there is a creator God?
Okay. Excellent question. Yes, there is a source. Like us, they themselves are trying to define exactly what it is. Even on fifth density. They, however, refer to it as isness.
Isness.
Isness. Now, their perspective is this. Isness created the space, the physical space first. Then isness created light and materialism inside that space.
Okay.
Then we as souls who are outside this physical universe as we know it, we were more than likely in another universe. We all agreed to come in and inhabit this universe. And, I wish I had the white paper, the instructions, but I don't, as to what exactly our missions were. But nonetheless, at some point, all of us came in as souls to fill this space and to begin to physically manifest and create everything that we see. Mm. Now, we're told that there's at least 11 densities. December 23rd of, I think, 2012, 2013, it could have been earlier than that. I forget at this moment. A 12th density physically began to manifest. And in that 12th density, they saw living beings, the likes of which no one in our universe had ever seen before. Now, I'm going to share this with you to bring up another point. Are you familiar with Project Blue Brain?
Blue Brain?
Blue Brain.
Not Blue Beam, but Blue Brain.
No, Blue Brain.
Huh, no.
Okay. This group of scientists put together literally a topographic camera, and it has the ability to completely see the entire structure of the brain in a holographic form. What they've done, and they started out with 1,500 people. This is on the web, Mike, Project Blue Brain in Switzerland. You can read their notes. What they discovered is that some of our brain structures, out of the first 1,500, they found people that have brain structures that are in 11th dimension. Okay, they're 11th density brain structures in their brain. And then they found some with 9, some with 8, some with 7, some with 5, some with 4. Everybody had more than third density.
Huh.
All right. Now, here's the really interesting thing. If we have brain structures in our brain, let's say, Mike, it's you, and you go through this camera and they say, Mike, you've got 11th density structures in your brain, and they're communicating, they're on, because we can see them lighting up. The neurons, we can see them lighting up. So that means they're communicating, Mike. You're communicating with somebody in 11th density and or higher. All of us on this planet that are real human beings have these structures already in our brain.
Wow. I mean, this makes total sense then with morphic resonance and why we can tap in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's exactly right. We're all hologram.
Wow. See, I've explained this too.
The more we believe we're solid, the lower we take our vibration down and trap ourselves in all this materialism.
Right. And this whole idea of thinking that we are separate from the events that we observe, that's illusion. That's actually the very basis of the enslavement of humanity, is thinking that we are separate from the universe. Now, you mentioned the planet and weather systems earlier, because I'd love you to answer this question. Doesn't the planet, the so-called natural events, don't they also reflect the aggregate consciousness of the people on the planet?
They do. And you're absolutely right, if the planet was allowed to be left alone.
Right, right.
See more of that and or less of that. But we're not. They're using HARP and other types of technology to create weather patterns, to create weather disasters, to strike fear and to unnerve humanity.
Yeah.
As long as they can keep us in fear, we're not evolving consciously.
You got it. That's it.
So,
Yeah.
Alex, the entities that you were, when I asked about who are the they, am I understanding correctly that the they are entities from the Orion group, and they are the basis for centralized control in our universe, and
Yes.
and that they feed off of our fear? Is that fair to say?
Yes, it's exactly right. They brought in other groups to play minor roles like the Greys, the Zetas, and other groups, but ultimately they all end up working for those in Orion.
And am I right? Because I fundamentally believe this. I believe that in this spiritual warfare, that the demons, I'll call them, that they do feed off of our fear. And I will tell you, fear requires a future. And that's why we can choose to live in the present. And Ixnay said fear, and when we do that, that becomes a strategic move to starve the demons. Does that make sense to you at all with your intel?
Yes, once you realize you're in a game, you're in a simulation. See, that's the whole thing. I think that's
right.
what the awakening is
Yeah.
that everybody realizes we're in a simulation. Full stop, back up, wait a minute, and everybody just says, whoa, you're not getting my energy right now.
Yes.
I need to assess, and all of a sudden what happens? Everybody goes inside. And that's where the work is. That's where the work has always been, is on our inside, finding out not only who we are, but, it's one thing to believe something, but why do you believe it? Is it something you were told, or is it something you've experienced?
Amen.
What is the great quote about wisdom? Wisdom comes from experience, and experience comes from poor judgment.
Yeah.
And that was Chief Joseph of the Nez Perce who said that to an American congressman.
But I find it interesting that as we are born into this simulation, that we're also given this entire, the context of the construct. We're told, here's human history, right? We're taught this as children. Here's the history that led up to this point, blah, 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 blah. And so they're creating this matrix, and here's how science works. Here's how cause and effect works, and here's whatever. And you realize, of course, as a child, you have the very open mind, and you're just accepting all of that. You're just writing it in your consciousness as everything's true. I'm not going to question. The teacher knows, whatever. The government wants to help us, whatever. And then at some point in your life, when you have that wisdom, you realize, wait a second. All the stuff they've been telling us, mostly they just made it up. Like, we don't really, how about this? Let me ask you this way. The entities that you are in touch with, do they ever talk to you about, you already said we're like the 8th civilization on this planet. What happened to the other 7?
Great question.
They either left or they were destroyed by cataclysms. Have you ever read Plato's description of Atlantis?
No, don't think I have.
All right, you might want to write that down. Okay. And then I want you to go do some research on the Eye of Africa. Okay, the Eye of Africa. And you will find that they're exactly the same.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah. And it's been right in front of us the whole time. The Perry-Reese map. How is it that the Perry-Reese map, which was the culmination of separate maps, 2 of which came from Alexander the Great, and they were given to him in 25 BC by a librarian at the Library of Alexandria, how is it that those maps show the entire landmass of the entire planet 25 BC?
Without the ice.
Without the ice on Antarctica.
Right. With exquisite detail of the geography.
It nails the topology of what's under the ice.
Absolutely. Even the shorelines, everything. Like, it's not coincidence.
Amazing.
It has both east and west coast of North America, South America. So there are no secrets. The history we've been given has been absolute rubbish.
So, Alex, history is a hoax. Can I share something with you that happened? It was 15 years ago. I took my family to Prague, and as we were walking down, and I was looking at these buildings, that is the first time those words came out of my mouth. I told my wife, I said, history is a hoax. Excuse me for swearing, everybody, but I said, bullshit. These were built with horses and carriages. There is absolutely no way. That was an advanced civilization that built those. There's nobody that can talk me out of that otherwise. And that was really kind of the first of my awakening. I'm like, they've been lying to us. There's no way. Am I right?
You're absolutely right. Look at Egypt. How did they know to build that pyramid, Giza, at exactly the center of the entire landmass of the Earth?
Right.
The only way you would know that is if you had flight in space and you had already mapped circumference of the planet.
Right.
You also have the Pyramid of Bosnia, which is larger than Giza, and no one will talk about it. And yet it's right there. They're uncovering it every day. And then you have the Black Pyramid in Alaska, which nobody wants to talk about. And
well, hold on. We lost your audio there for just a second. Right after you said nobody wants to talk about, literally the audio cut out. Stand by. Maybe it'll come back. We've had this happen before. That is so strange. Todd, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm hearing you now.
I can hear Alex.
Okay, Alex, can you say another word, please?
Word.
Okay, you're back.
Word.
No, that was so straight. You literally, right after you said silence, see, talk about what the power, it went silent. I'm not even going to have the editor remove that because that's a freaky demonstration of what we're talking about. Go ahead. I apologize for the interruption.
Anunnaki, you guys, you ornery guys.
They were good. They were good and they were bad, for sure. You know, 2 different camps. One of the things that this planet has done for everybody is to show us contrast. And in the contrast, I think the first place we realize or get to is, man, I don't want any of this. I don't want any of this. So then what happens is you shift your focus automatically to what it is you do want. And if you go through what you don't want, you're totally focused and devoted to creating what you do want. And then you begin to move in that direction and things really start to change. It's just, you have to not be drawn in emotionally through fear into the negative field, which is what they've created for all of us. And that's how they've captured us, is by creating all this fear in this negative field.
Yep.
A lot of the the Old Testament, the stories, the history is real. However, it was not about the ivory. And when I say the ivory, that was the original word for the gypsies that no one wanted to deal with, the cast-outs, who later became known as the Hebrew, and now they're known as Jews. They were originally known as the ivory. But most of the story of the Old Testament is about the Chaldeans. It's about the Chaldeans. And, they've left a lot of knowledge and wisdom that has been stripped out of texts and religious texts. Every time they reprint or revise a volume, they're removing and adding words into the texts. The best example I can give you is that the British Museum is deciphering the Sinai Bible, which to our knowledge is the oldest one in existence today. It's somewhere between 470 and 504 AD, and it has the entire books, just like the Ethiopian Bible. It has all the books. It didn't take out the 77 books. Church did in 1503 when the printing press was invented. That's when they started taking things out. They have already come up with at least 15,000 major discrepancies.
Oh, yeah. I'm not surprised.
The Dead Sea Scrolls at the Huntington Library, they were uncovering the same thing. And the church came in and said, instead of talking about it, they just took all the documents away, and they took them back to the Vatican and suppressed them and hid them.
They did. That's exactly what they did.
That's exactly what they did.
Yep.
So, they've been hiding and whitewashing history from us for a very, very long time. Prince Maddox in the Ohio Valley, Tennessee, Indiana. Most people don't know anything about Prince Maddox. He came over from England, and he said that his father was Arthur. We know as Arthur. And what's interesting about that is that the Native Americans, the indigenous people of that time, all have records. There's still oral history of his presence being there. Now, this is 1150 AD. Okay, 1150 AD. So let's just put Columbus on the bookshelf for now and just say rubbish. Okay, under rubbish. There were already people here at that long before him. The Davenport calendar, you should write that down and look that up. That was found 12 feet underground in Iowa. And what it was a stone that was carved at approximately 25 BC. And it was Egyptian, an ancient Egyptian dialogue, an extinct Iberian language, and I think the third one was a Philistine language. It was written in 3 different languages, all describing the same thing. They carved the constellations and the stars at this particular time, and they make reference to, on the stone, the Feast of Osiris.
Huh.
This is in Iowa. This is in Iowa.
And, I have a question for you about these ancient civilizations, even prehistory, 1 through 7 civilizations. And correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it true that if they may have had a completely different idea of the construct of reality, whereas instead of believing in materialism and reductionism and quote science, they believed in the oneness, and they believed in what we would today call remote viewing, psychokinesis, levitation, things like that. There could have been entire societies where that was just considered absolutely normal. I mean, of course you could pick up the rock with your mind. Like, why would that be weird in that civilization? Do you think that there are examples like that in our history where there were just completely different rules of reality that people made real in the simulation?
In Arabic texts, they talk about the mavadi. The mavadi is what we know as a flying carpet. And essentially what it was is they used magnets. They had this technology. They would put magnets at the four corners of a wooden platform. And because it was uncomfortable with wood, they would put a carpet over it for their passengers to sit on and or stand. And they would fly on the ley lines using these craft, using the magnetic fields. And they even describe how to make them in Arabic text, but many archaeologists say it's just fairy tales, it's romance, it's fiction. It's just amazing. They'll look for any excuse to stay in their little box, in their tiny little paradigm. Why would anybody spend all the time chiseling in a rock?
Yeah.
A dynasty segment, or a Roman novel.
Right.
It's a lot of work, chiseling rock. Yeah.
Exactly. They would talk about real things that were really happening.
Wow.
Now, there was a coal mine in Russia that they found it was 20 miles, I think almost 20 miles deep. They had gone down and they broke through this area and they found a room. And in this room, there was a box. And they were able to chisel open the box and they took the box out and they found an artifact in it, some type of a gold mirror. And they had no idea what it was there. They had no idea how old it was or even how it got down there. So what they did, Mike, was they took it to a laboratory just outside Moscow. And the first thing they did was X-ray it. When they X-rayed it, they found computer chips inside the mirror.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, oh my God, what is this? How can this be? And they had no idea what it was, how to use it, what it meant. So they basically put it in this room and they were experimenting it with the chemicals and they were doing metallurgy tests on it, trying to get an age of what it was. They were looking to see if there was a seam which would open it up so they could take it apart and look at the chips. But what's really, really interesting is the laboratory behind the next wall was doing some experiments using low frequency waves. When they hit a specific frequency wave that they were testing in the next room, the mirror turned on.
Wow.
Okay, the mirror turned on, and what they saw was it looked like it was owned by a specific family because they had all these scenes of the family, and in the background you could see the Mavadis, the flying carpets, flying over their heads.
Jeepers.
In these pictures. They were dressed in very similar casual wear that we wear today. And they estimate that this is, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years old. It just, there's more oop parts than there is actual history.
Wow.
And there's so many of them, Mike, now that they don't know how to cover them up.
Yeah.
For example, the Grand Canyon. Explain all the Egyptian and Hindu and Buddhist archaeology and artifacts in the Grand Canyon.
Well, that's why you're not allowed to go to very
That's
specific
why 90%
parts.
of it's off limits.
Right.
Yeah, 90, because there's more than there that we realize. Not to mention the largest veins of gold above ground are in those canyon walls.
Wow.
Somewhere around 2 million ounces, 2 to 3 million ounces of gold are in those walls.
Huh.
Mike, this is, I'm sitting here taking a look and I'm like, we're coming up on the hour and I'm like, I feel like it was 5 minutes ago that we just said hello.
Well, you wanted to decentralize. I bring you Alex Collier.
Yeah. I did not ask one question from my list of. I'm just saying. So we got to have you back.
But see, I mean, I'm glad you mentioned this, Todd, because the point of this show is to help our audience escape the control grid or the slavery grid. And part of that, I mean, most of our shows we've talked about, food and finance and crypto, whatever, which is all important in this time, in this moment in the simulation. But the greatest decentralization is to free yourself from the illusion of our reality that's projected upon us, that then your mind, reflects and makes real. Like, you can change your outcome by changing your mind, literally. Yes. It's not a Jedi mind trick. It's the way the cosmos is structured.
It is conscious co-creation of your own future.
The trick is to separate yourself and be the observer.
Okay.
Observe everything going on around you, including how you're interacting with everything around you.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you were having an out-of-body experience while you're awake.
Right.
It's very similar to that. But then you would see everything. You would see the illusions. You would see the traps. You would see the manipulation.
Fascinating.
Everything from that perspective. It's like going to a movie and you're being drawn into the movie and it's exciting and you're screaming and you're wreathing back in fear. And what we're doing is we're living in exactly that. The Q team have said, several times, you're watching a movie. Well, that could be very true for all of our lives. We've been in a holographic movie, not at all understanding what it really is.
Alex, let me show you something that's just mind-blowing, and it confirms everything we're talking about. So one of the experiments that I'm literally running right here is I took xylitol and melted it, and then I poured it on a large slide, and I wrote the prompt, like prompt engineering in the cosmos. I wrote a prompt. I wanted it to depict the scenes of the Middle East for this summer. And I have been scanning the slide ever since then. And on June 2nd, I published many of the images, and they showed with great clarity. And let me actually show you what's on my screen right now. So this is on quadrant A9, and it's scanning this right now. This is created by the crystals as they freeze, and they make a 3D shapes. Elsewhere on this slide is the image of a F-14 Tomcat on the runway in Iran. Another place is an image of a building being bombarded in Tel Aviv, which is what Iran did, but I published the image 2 weeks before it happened. And then there are other very specific images here with symbolism like a one-horned ram, the ram being a symbol for Abraham and so on. So what I'm saying is, Alex, even just running a simple experiment here using a microscope, I found that just by using the power of consciousness and writing a question out, that this will literally paint 3D images that are very recognizable. I could show you, but it's in the middle of a scan. But they're very recognizable, and they depict the near future. And how is that possible if not for the fact that what you're saying, that time is actually fluid, and that there is there's knowledge, everything's holographic. So everything that's going to happen is already imprinted in everything else. So I just want to share that with you because this confirms what you're talking about.
And we're the sum total of all that is as well. All of our cells, our DNA, each one is a library, is a portion of a library.
That's right.
Of the existence of everything contained within us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're sons and daughters of God, the creator, the source, and there's just no getting around that at all. And that was the message that Jesus tried to teach. And it makes sense why the Pharisees and the Romans didn't want that out, because then they would have lost control immediately once everybody figured it out. So, he had to go.
Yeah.
Let me show.
Except he didn't go.
I found the images that I had published on this. I just want to show you this because you'll be blown away. Can you show my screen again, please? My computer screen? Yeah. So here's an image of the one-horned ram that's literally sketched out in the xylitol crystals on the right. And then here's an image of a falcon in a burning tree, and the falcon is the symbol of Iran. Here's here's a symbol of the stealth bombers flying over and bombing the desert. And I published these June 2nd. Then wait, look at this. Here's an image of a fighting knife that's literally sketched out by the xylitol. Like, this isn't AI, it's not Photoshop. It's just a picture under a microscope. And then look at this image right here. The one on the left is from June 14th. It's a video of the bombing of Tel Aviv. The one on the right is what I captured under the microscope and published on June 2nd. And the buildings actually match. It's a tall building with a vertical stripe right next to a short building with certain windows and certain things falling out of the sky. I published this 2 weeks before it happened.
Extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary.
And it's not like, you know how it is, Alex, a lot of like, you know, mystics or whatever say, well, you have to believe me when I say I had the vision or whatever. This isn't that. I'm not dismissing that. I'm just saying you can see this yourself. Like, it's right there. It's almost like a AI rendered image, but it did it 2 weeks before the event.
It's crazy.
But I think it's natural. I think, Alex, I mean, I think all of this that we call supernatural is actually just totally natural.
If we fell from 11th density or 12th, wherever that point, some higher realm, if we fell from that higher realm all the way down to here, and inside of our heads, there are structures still communicating with those realms, which is what the science is beginning to show, then we are clearly at one with all things.
Yes. Yes, we are connected in every way. The whole universe is holographic, which means it's also fractal. So that's why, like, here I'm zooming in with a microscope to a very tiny level, but I also believe the same patterns exist if you zoom way out and look at the galaxy. You look at galaxies and like cosmic clouds, they look like a microscope zoomed in at 2000x, right? Because it's the same pattern.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay.
Amazing.
Our brains, the structure of our brains are totally mirror the universe that we know.
Absolutely.
Or totally mirrors it. So it just shows that we're the ones creating this.
Yeah. Very powerful message. Todd, I think this is the ultimate meta level of decentralization.
Yeah, I think so. And I just hope you come back so I can ask at least one of these questions. That's all.
Todd, you hold the record for the most research that you never get to use in the interview.
I know. I keep them in a special file. No kidding. But I'm like, I can dust them off at some point in time. But it has been fascinating. Wow, Alex.
Thank you, sir.
Let me give you all Alex's website. Here it is, alexcollier.org. And also Alex has a very prominent channel on brighteon.com where you can subscribe and you can purchase some of his premium content there as well. Or you can go to alexcollier.org and you can see everything that he's got there. Lots of events, live Q&A. And isn't it, Alex, every week you do a Q&A and then you do a monologue, or is it two per week?
I do a webinar, 2 webinars per the week. The third week we do a guest, usually a guest. Okay. And then 4th week, it's strictly a Q&A. I just show up and people fire stuff. Boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
Beautiful.
And if I know, I tell them what I know. And if I don't, I just say I don't know and we move to the next thing.
Alex, I love how just matter of fact you are about the way that you explain all of this. You know, even to somebody skeptical, you don't come across as a person that's trying to like shove this down people's throat. I think Wouldn't you agree, Todd, that Alex's demeanor is like, you can take it or leave it. It is what it is.
Unconscious competence that, is just exudes from you. It's like, look, it is what it is. And
Yeah.
my operating on the last thing I sense that you'll do, Alex, is try to persuade someone of your worldview. It's you're laying out what you know, and people can judge accordingly.
Everybody's on their own path,
Right.
And I recognize that, and you have to allow them to go down those holes, those rabbit holes, and figure it out. And then when they come back to the surface, they have a different perspective.
That's right.
That's all you can do. Here's the thing: the Andromedans have said this all along. No matter what happens here, all the broken pieces find their way home.
Huh.
So it's all good.
And then there's
all good. No matter what happens, it's all good.
That's great. Cool. All right. Well, so Alex, thank you so much for your time today and for just what you're offering to humanity in terms of exploration and knowledge. And I'm sorry that we kept you a little bit over, but we're going to go to a break now. Todd and I will continue the show, but thank you for your time, Alex. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Gentlemen, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Alex. All right.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. Take care. And
Bye.
For those watching, yes, Todd and I will be right back after this break with the after-party discussion, which should be especially interesting today. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Join the official discussion channel for this show on Telegram at t.me/decentralizedtv, where you can ask questions or offer suggestions of who we should interview next. Also be sure to subscribe to the email newsletter on decentralized.tv, where you'll be alerted about 1 day in advance of each new upcoming episode, before it gets published. On Decentralized.tv, you'll also find links to our video channels and social media channels across all platforms, including Brighteon, Rumble, BitChute, Twitter, Truth Social, and more. Check it all out at Decentralized.tv. All right, welcome back. Welcome to the after party, folks. So Todd, hey, I kind of surprised you, I think, with this guest today. I didn't really give you a total heads up of what was coming.
Right.
But I wanted to do that on purpose because, you talk about decentralization, like cosmic level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is to properly, I like to do my research with guests so I can ask some good questions for our audience and always try to relate them to decentralized strategies. And I have this beautiful list of questions that do that. And it took like 3 days to do it because there's so much out there on him and his experience and everything. But once you start talking with him, it would have been irresponsible of me to go to these questions because the conversation was so flowing and so good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Literally, I think you could do a series with this guy. Just keep on taking the
no question.
Right. And I believe him, by the way, for everyone out there that's like poo-pooing any of this kind of woo-woo stuff that, sure, people got abducted or whatever. I believe him 100%.
Well, look, let me say that throughout all my life, the highest IQ people that I've ever known have all believed that we are not alone in the universe.
Right. That's right.
You actually have to be kind of stupid to think we're the only living beings in the entire cosmos. That's a sign of low intelligence, actually.
At least ill-informed, that's for sure.
Yeah, right. So, and the other thing is, we've seen so many clues recently of the spooky nature of the universe, spooky being one of the terms that Einstein used, right? Talking about quantum phenomenon and superposition of states. Yeah. So a couple of things, like Google with their new recent quantum computing microchip setup, they found that they accidentally discovered that the thoughts of the people in the room strongly affected the outcome of the microchip functions. And then they began to learn, well, they have to have different people in the room thinking different things for the chip to function correctly. On top of that, now China's just announced a 105 qubit quantum computer. And both China and Russia are on the cutting edge of research of, well, especially Russia, of mind silicon interactions.
Too scary.
And then on top of that, then the experiment that I just showed, the crystal experiment with the microscope, which I did not even expect this was going to happen. And it did. I mean, I wanted to test it, and then it turned out to be mind blowing. And the problem is, I'm still scanning this slide. It takes so long. I have to stitch all these images together. I've spent over a month on this. But these are signs that the universe, it really is all connected.
Right.
We're not alone. We're not separate. We're not powerless. That's the powerful message.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I kind of think after this interview, my life will forever change a little bit, Mike. And people are probably going to start thinking I have a big ego, because when I go to the store, because I know I am royalty, universal royalty, I'm going to start requiring the people at checkout to kiss my ring or something like. But that was pretty wild to think that we the royals, right?
Oh, the genetic royalty of the cosmos. Yeah.
Yes, Mike, we are.
Well, I'll say this. Whatever the other intelligences think of us, there's no question that we have the power to create.
Yes.
And even from a biblical point of view, that's the power of God's breath and God's light working through you.
Yep.
So just as God created, we have a smaller version of the ability to create. But very few people apply that power.
Yes.
They simply, they live passively and they let the world dictate to them their own circumstances. And that's what the globalists want.
And I loved what you said at the beginning of the interview, where the COVID nonsense, how we then co-created. Do you remember, they hypnotized everyone by saying that you couldn't taste anything anymore. You'd lose your smell.
Right.
I think that was BS. I think people just hypnotized themselves to where they couldn't smell, they couldn't taste, because that's what was expected, and it was a little bit of a virtue signal when you were able to say that out loud. I am a survivor of COVID. You know what I mean?
Well, I know people who lost their sense of taste and smell, and credible people. The thing is, their mind makes it real.
Yes.
Also, so, there are hypnosis experiments where a person can be told, they can be blindfolded and told they're going to be touched with a burning cigarette.
Right.
But they're actually touched with a pencil eraser on their arm. But then their skin will blister and have a burn, even though there was no heat.
Crazy.
So
our mind's crazy. This universe is crazy. I'm just happy to have a ticket to it.
you have a front row seat.
Yes, sir.
But the mind makes it real, and the mind, physiologically speaking, the mind makes it real. And what's interesting to me is that this also speaks to when you have clinical trials of drugs like antidepressants. Remember that in a clinical trial, you have a placebo group that does not get the drug, that's getting sugar pills, and then you have another group that's getting the drug.
Yeah.
And what actually happens, now they all come into that trial depressed, some level of depression. And because they've been brainwashed by Western medicine and Western media to believe that the drug will help them be happier, then the moment they begin to experience side effects of the SSRI drugs, they become incredibly happy because they say to themselves, I got the real drug.
Yeah. Right.
And then they're like, wow, the side effects means I got the real drug. Therefore, my depression's going to be treated. And then they get happier.
Yeah.
Because they're suffering from the chemical toxicity. They're like, wow, that's awesome. And then the clinical trial shows that the drug made people happier.
Yeah.
So talk about creating your own reality. You could have stayed home. You could have eaten Pop-Tarts and been happier.
Yeah. You know what, Mike? I was on a consultation today, and I was having this conversation with this woman who I could tell lived in fear. And I prescribed to her like I have before. I think I've even talked about it on the show, but I asked her to go for a walk for 2 weeks, take a little diary, and observe 3 things on each walk that she never has before, and just write them down. It could be a little garden someone planted, maybe see if there's a bee that's circling anywhere. Anyway, I told her, I said, that is a life hack, to where if you just turn off the TV that's issuing this fear, that's creating this fear, and you observe locally God's creation, and you just start acknowledging, it's as easy as going outside in your own neighborhood and observing and being grateful for all of the gifts around us. But so many of us overlook that. It's like people who live in Denver, Colorado don't notice the mountains anymore. You know what I mean? So for everyone out there, try it. It works.
Yeah, absolutely. It's ultimately the way to live as a free person is to break the spells of the sorcery.
Yes.
Over your mind.
Right.
And you and I, we spend a lot of shows talking about really practical things like, self-custody of your crypto and
right.
And your the UNI, or
UNA.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry. UNI, the Uni Party. No, UNA, unincorporated nonprofit association. But these are really like practical things in our 3D simulation to navigate the world, and those are important. And we talk about growing food.
Absolutely.
Because while we are here wearing the skin bags that we have, we got to eat. So, but we are more than that. Right?
Yes.
The true self is way beyond that. So the ultimate decentralization, or the ultimate freedom, is to realize who you are and the power you have, and to break free from all of the often self-imposed brainwashing and sorcery that's inflicted upon us.
And what Alex shared was that's exercising the muscle of trying to be the observer, which is it's a muscle. I mean, it's like, instead of being in it and absorbed by it, step back and just observe. And that's not really easy for us to do, but I think we could unpack that in a whole different interview on how do you do that.
Yeah, no, we got to get like a meditation master on here, because that's
that's a good idea.
To step back in meditation, to step back and observe your mind running like a crazy monkey.
Right.
You know, but to not be in that.
Yeah.
That's a real skill.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. But speaking of our 3D physical world, let's bring in a couple of practical solutions to give credit to our sponsors. And also, Todd, I'll let you start with yours. Your website, my575e.com. I've got it up on my screen. Why is this important to people in our 3D simulation?
I tell you, we now have well over 200 people in our private Telegram group. These are UNA operators who have really come through this show. And Mike, the one thing that I would ask people to do, because I've had so many people over the last 2 weeks acquire UNAs, and it was because of the June 24th Decentralized TV episode where we celebrated 100 shows. And I would just ask anybody to listen to the first 15, 18 minutes of that show. And you and I, we dove into the UNAs at the beginning, and you helped a lot of people, Mike, crystallize what I've been trying to I took 2 years to try to educate people on, which is now is the time to decentralize our assets, to protect them. And Nelson Rockefeller is the one who coined the phrase, own nothing, control everything. And this entity that I help people acquire and I educate them how to use, that allows us to do that, to where we control everything, but we don't own it. Therefore, from a personal liability standpoint, we protect our assets. And I have to tell you a quick story about a wonderful couple named Sharon and David. Sharon is the CFO, so she was suspicious coming in, but they acquired theirs. It's probably been about 9 months ago. And this last week, she called me and she says, you know what, now that I understand these and the power of these, she said, I am getting all 3 of my kids their own UNAs. And so she's in the process of doing that. She got her first son his UNA, she let him name it. She's going to number 2, number 3. And I love it because I can't imagine a better gift a parent can provide their child then their own UNA and then teach them how to use it, right? It's not just give it to them and such, but then I get them into the private Telegram group and they learn, and it's just cool. And I'm seeing a lot more of that, Mike, of the referrals from the UNA operators themselves. It's because once they get their sea legs and they start feeling comfortable and they get through a tax season, they're like, wow, Todd was right. No boogeyman comes knocking. It's just a beautiful thing, Mike.
Yeah, there's just a small learning curve, actually. I mean, you don't have to be a genius to do this. I mean, if you can fill out a 1040 form, you can figure this out too.
Yeah, and there's so much rich resource in that Telegram group. I've created the UNA Biz directory, which is like a digital ebook. So when it comes to donating your property, you just go to that chapter of the ebook and you'll see every conversation that I've had, every message pinned along with templates and the how-to. And so that's what people are really, really impressed when they get in there. They're like, wow, this is not what I expected. So welcome, everybody. Come on in, change your life. That's all.
Yeah, exactly. And as you know, it's really interesting because as we see the U.S. empire is in its last chapter, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know how long this chapter lasts. You know, maybe it's 10 years, maybe it's a year, maybe. Whatever. But you know, the currency is collapsing. The dollar's down 11% this year, and it may go down another 10% versus other world currencies. And look how much it's fallen compared to gold.
Yeah.
Right. Just extraordinary.
Yes.
So no matter what you own, I strongly advocate learning about my575e.com, learning what Todd has been teaching people for a couple of years now as a way to segment and decentralize and protect your assets.
Right.
So that's key. And then speaking of assets, if you, the sponsor on my side of this, Todd, is Battalion Metals. You can go to metalswithmike.com and that will forward you to this page, which is Battalion Metals. This is actually the same company we've worked with for, I don't know, 8 years or whatever, but they launched this whole new website name and branding called Battalion Metals.
Oh, cool.
And they have fair pricing. They don't run any bait and switch. They don't do no scams, nothing. Like honest, solid, practical, great deals. All recognized world mints. You can get gold and silver either in your hands or in a vault that is not regulated by the federal government like banks are. Instead, it's privately insured by Lloyd's of London.
Wow.
Right, with armed guards and the whole deal. So you can vault your silver and gold, or you can have it in your own hands. And the way to get that is metalswithmike.com.
And I will tell you, Mike, because I had a fairly wealthy person who has a UNA. And I can't remember the company, but it's with Brinks somewhere. But they created an account with their vault company with their UNA. So it's their UNA that is acquiring the price. So they control it all. They just don't pay. And then one day, if they ever have to liquidate and take it off the table, it will not be capital gains tax.
Right. It goes right back into the UNA.
To the reserves. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
So it all works together. That's what's crazy, this decentralized community that you and I are building together. It's like amazing how when you see the dots connecting.
Isn't that true? And the reason this matters is because, hey, as long as we're all in this simulation, wouldn't it be great to be able to have more free time to pursue, the cosmic knowledge or the cosmic experiments or the meditation or the health and fitness or the food force or whatever you want? The way to have more time is to stop allowing entities to keep stealing money from you.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. So you can keep more of what you earn, which is what you say every episode.
All the time.
If you could keep more of what you earn, you could work a little bit less and do other fun stuff more.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what you do give up, Mike, by keeping more of what you earn is knowing that you didn't have a hand in tranny library reading sessions sponsored by USAID.
Darn.
But I'm being facetious, but seriously, think about that. Can't you, watching right now, do more with your money than
some other entity? Yeah, exactly. All right, well said. So, Todd, we're going to wrap it up here for today because I don't think we can add anything more to what Alex said. All we can do is maybe just bring him back.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like the guy's a wealth of knowledge. And again, I love his attitude. He's not.
I do too.
He's not a used car salesman. None of that. And look, it's okay for our viewers to be skeptical and to have their own ideas or be on their own journey, their own timeline, whatever. That's fine. No judgment.
Just be open,
Yeah.
You might even learn something.
Absolutely. I'm convinced we are not alone in this universe, not by any stretch of the imagination. So, what that means, what's going to happen next, I don't know, but it's not going to be boring.
It's not going to be boring. And Mike, I want to say thank you for not taking the ticket out there, because the reason why we're able to have this show is that you never took a ticket on somebody who's going to pay your way or anything like that. You have been so decentralized in your decisions to be your own man and not have investors, board of directors, anyone that you have to report to and account to. And it's the only reason why this exists, that we can speak this kind of truth. So thank you for being here, Mike.
Wow. Well, thanks, Todd, for saying that. That means a lot. And yeah, we don't have any investors. We don't have loans. We don't answer to anybody. We don't have shareholders, because I don't want to be in a position where I have to choose between the shareholders or telling the truth.
Exactly.
No. Tell the truth and let the cards fall where they may, whatever that happens to be. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but it's always real. All right. Well, with that said, Todd, have a great rest of your day. Thank you for your time today. And thank all of you for watching here. Remember, you can catch all the other episodes at decentralized.tv, and also check out our new song and music video called Decentralized. A lot of people love that new tune. So check out all the episodes, Decentralized TV, but there is no episode that's like this one today. No. This is a one of a kind episode.
One of one.
Yes, one of one. Okay. So enjoy, and thanks everybody for watching today.
All right. Cheers, everyone.
They tell you what to think. They urge you what to say. They say they're building freedom while they steal your life away. They claim they stand for peace, compliance they insist. They rip apart your human heart and hope you don't resist. Decentralized, don't compromise, be unauthorized. Decentralized, decentralized. Decentralized, got to realize, don't decarbonize. Decentralized, decentralized. Tell you how to vote, commanding what you feel. They sterilize your mind with lies and make their fiction real. They're reading from a script, performing psyop hits. They occupy your conscious mind until you're done with it. Decentralized, don't compromise, be unauthorized. Decentralized, decentralized. Decentralized, got to realize, don't decarbonize. decentralize.
So there's a huge uptick right now in the number of government agencies, departments that are purchasing Faraday bags. Now, I don't know if it's just for security or maybe they're anticipating an EMP attack or, I don't know, a nuclear event of some kind. But for whatever reason, a lot of government agencies are purchasing Faraday bags. Now, our partner, the Satellite Phone Store, they have this line called Escape Zone. And they've got all of these bags of various sizes, including this massive one I'm about to show you, which holds an entire generator. So if you've ever wanted to protect something like a desktop computer or a full-size, home power generator in a Faraday bag, you can now do that. And they have other size bags as well. They've got bags that can handle like your laptop. Can you show the side view there? There's a laptop bag. And then here on the desk, these are bags for solar panels, and this is a giant bag for a generator. And then they've got other size bags, like this is like a body pouch. Here, you can show this straight on. Yeah, sorry, it's black. It's kind of hard to see, but this is like a body bag. You can wear it. You can wear it cross chest, or you can wear it around your waist. It's smaller than a purse, larger than a fanny pack, something like that. You've got them for satellite phones and mobile phones, many different sizes available. They also have backpacks. Now, you can get these through a couple of different places. You can go to healthrangerstore.com/escape, which will bring up this screen right here. And you can see, here's the Faraday bag ballistic backpack. Here's the Faraday bag blanket. They've got Faraday bag beanies and all kinds of other, different briefcase-sized bags for protecting laptop computers, things like that. Or you can go directly to darkbags.com, which is the Satellite Phone Store website. And there you can see they've got the larger bags that have just been launched there right now. Crypto cold wallet protective Faraday sleeve, that's really important to protect your crypto, and many other different formats. Now, right now, they are, through the month of July, they are donating for every purchase of one of these are massive. See how large this is? This is a massive Faraday bag, okay, to hold an entire generator. For every purchase, they of the large bags, which is the solar panel bag and the generator bag, for every purchase, they're donating $100 to our emergency response rescue efforts. Right now, for this week, those efforts are focused on the Texas flood rescue, where we are sending certified organic storable food and personal care and survival products to the victims of the flooding in Central Texas. We're organizing that right now. We're adding our own donation on top of that. But the Satellite Phone Store is doing a $100 additional donation for every one of these bags that they sell. After this week, that $100 donation goes to our next rescue effort, which we don't know what that is yet. But we are here as the Health Ranger Store and my registered church, the Church of Natural Abundance, which has, last year made over $500,000 in food donations to the victims of the storms in North Carolina and the hurricane in Florida and the fires in California that happened. Now we're helping Texas, and we'll be helping whoever needs help that we can reach with food and supplies and anything else that makes sense that we can get into people's hands. So by purchasing from darkbags.com or healthrangerstore.com/escape, you can also, with certain products, help raise donation money that will help those in need wherever they happen to be in America. We're here to serve. We're here to help. We have the infrastructure. We have the abundance from your support and from God's grace to be able to help people all across America in a time of need. And that's what we're doing. And that's what the Satellite Phone Store is doing as well. And even if you don't care about the donation aspect of this, it's smart to have these bags, to put your mobile phone in a Faraday bag. Protects from 5G, protects from potentially identity theft. You can put your credit cards, your wallet, your car keys, your key fob. Those things can be read by car thieves. They can be read from like 10 feet away. So you can put your key fobs in these, especially at night when you go in for the evening and you put your keys up, put them in one of these bags. Otherwise, thieves can come to your front porch and they can erect an antenna and they can read your key fob and then they can steal your car right out of your driveway. That's been documented. That's happening right now. So protect all your electronics with Faraday bags of different sizes. And when you do that, you'll have better privacy, you'll have better protection, and you'll have electronics that work even after a nuclear event or after an EMP or whatever might happen. You want to have things that are protected from those kinds of events in case there is a worst case scenario type of catastrophe that unfolds. So again, check it all out at either the satellite phone store, sat123.com, or darkbags.com, or healthrangerstore.com/escape, whatever's most convenient for you. And get these in your life and you will enjoy enhanced privacy and protection from electromagnetic radiation and frequencies, or fields would be the correct term there. So thank you for your support. I'm Mike Adams of Brighteon.com and healthrangerstore.com. Be safe, everybody. Take care.